Hello,
Mm.
everybody.
What's up,
Hello,
liners?
hello. What's
Here
up,
we are.
liners?
We're at the good ending. This is it. We got the good ending. There it
We made it,
is.
everyone.
That's it.
It's been a long journey,
Mhm.
but life has flourished once again. And here we have come uh to revisit old things and to answer your questions. And by your
Yeah.
questions, I mean you, Tarbuck, and Ricardo's questions.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're down
And
one. We took a casualty today.
yeah.
We're not down
Uh,
anybody.
um, we couldn't have picked a better venue. The end of the line is just the beginning. We're no
Mhm.
longer on the rails.
All things are apart once again. Well, hey, since Simon couldn't be here, we have to have a new face enter the fray.
Hey.
Hello,
Hola.
hola.
All right. Uh, you want to dive directly in?
Yeah.
Oh
Hit me with your
shit.
first. Hit me with your first question.
Okay. So earlier on in Command Line, when we were debating things that seemed completely silly in retrospect, such as whether or not to kill Alvis. Uh,
Yeah, that
uh,
was. When I heard that, I was like, "Oh God, please don't just ruin everything like before we even get started."
it would have caused so many problems.
No, I
Um,
would have just probably, if that would have happened like in command line before, like especially
mhm,
that would have happened like before the end, I would have just been like,
mhm,
all right, never mind, we're not doing it. Ended.
mhm. Yeah, like there's a lot of stuff like that that we didn't pick up on for a long time. Things like, no, Alvis is cool actually.
Yeah, he's just hurt. He's just been hurt.
Yeah.
Please
Mhm.
empathize.
He's hurt and also
Um,
disabled.
yeah. What
He's
did you
literally a
think about?
sad he's literally a sad old man who's missing an arm,
Mhm,
who is like manic depressive. Like why would you try to hurt him?
mhm. How how do you feel about the gap between the where we said we were going to start and what our actual like in play leanings were going to be that turned out differently? Because originally I thought I was going to be like really separation and instigation coded, if I remember right, and um, I wound up leaning connection pretty hard right away. Like,
Hmm.
no, wait, guys, it sounds sad. Very powerful
Yeah.
characterizing moment in my mind from episode two.
Yeah, for the shadow that you
Mhm.
I'm very glad that that happened. Uh, Empathy is important in command line. It's like
Yeah.
it's literally a stat.
You're not human if you don't have connection.
Hmm.
Yeah, and you don't have free will if you don't have
You don't have
connection.
free will if you don't have connection.
Yeah.
That's the quote.
Animals have connection also.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. Uh, life is valuable. I've commented a couple of times on how you really do listen to everything that I say. um,
Yeah, it's called take notes. Step one,
it-
be patient. Step two, take notes.
yeah. Really important directives for life. Words to live by. So around the era that happened, like early command line, we tried telling Alvis about all the psychic stuff, and then he like clutched his head and like was in pain. Um, Now off mic, you and I have talked about that in the like 2 and 3 weeks or so between when end of command hearts and now. But would you like to explain on recording now all about that?
Yeah. So there's a gag very early on, which is very funny in which everyone thinks is very funny in retrospect. On your second listen, listen out for it. Someone looks in Alvis's ear. I don't remember what the context was, but it was like very early on. It was like, I look in Alvis's ear and I'm like, oh yeah, it's empty in there, which is like a nod to how his brain is gone.
And we just see through to the other side. It's like a Looney Tunes moment, but no, actually, that was very serious.
Yeah. I mean, it was serious, but it's also funny.
Yes. Bathos, my favorite thing.
We have good humor around here. There is, but yeah, so spires are created when great and terrible things occur. One of the most great and terrible things of recent time, invention of nuclear bomb, the birth of Dr. Alvis, aka when he was removed from, or the birth of Dr. Light, rather, when he was removed from Dr. Alvis's head. So that has left a spire in his head that he carries around, and when you remind him of psychic things, it like grows a little bit, and like his head bleeding, while blood is thematically connective, it connects him, and it is the thing that connects him and Emily even when they are not actually connected. Like white hair stained red, because we're all human at the end of the day. Yeah, so it grows in his head and it like pierces out, and that ties into how if like a bad end were to have been reached, where like Alvis is too far gone, you can't save him, or he would have had like a horn growing out of his head, like a demon horn, and you would have been like, why does he have that demon horn? And I'd be like, because when he got his brain removed, he got a spire in his head.
And we would have been like, oh, that's why his head was bleeding.
Yeah, unexplained head bleeding.
In some of our development talks in the weeks since our last recording, you said there was also an option where he had maybe 2 horns. Do you remember? I don't remember how we got there.
I think that would have been getting that. Yeah, that would have been if. So like if there wasn't really a final, if there wasn't going to be a Hantai Yumi as the final boss, then like Dr. Light has to be the final boss. If you get to that point, and I feel like you've already lost Alvis, then Alvis would have had Dr. Light's brain put back in him, and that would be like the second fire.
Gotcha.
Okay. So Hantai Yumi being brought to the future, that changes the course of history, such that Hantai Yumi is now going to be a big player, a big bad. The story has to kind of make room for him, so Dr. Light is like downplayed a little bit, and by playing into a theme of like, okay, if you create the entire world out of cogs, everything becomes replaceable, including you, the mastermind. So that's why he is like a part that has been swapped out and put in storage. Because like Dr. Light doesn't matter at that point. A thing that I said at the time was that so like if Dr. Light had more focus and was more of a villain, then like that showdown with Alvis at the show of force would have been more dramatic. If bad things had happened, his horn would have been bigger. If things would have played out in a way where Light puts his brain back into Alvis, and this is like a second terrible thing that happens, and that would give him a second horn, so that he could have like one big and one small horn. Which would have definitely raised even more questions of like, why does that guy have two horns? Oh, that's Alvis. Why does Alvis have 2 horns? And I'd be like, well, the first one was this, and the second one was this. And everyone's like, we didn't even know about the first one. And I'm like, I know, you didn't ask.
Uh, yeah, that's. Hmm. Um, let's see. Around in that is also tied up things like how do we get there? Like, what has to happen in order for like horned Elvis to be what happens?
Obviously, it kind of depends on like the general vibe of the story.
Mhm.
Where your characters are at like thematically. Like if you're on like a path of darkness, things are going to be worse, even if they're not directly causally related to what you're doing.
Mhm.
And the inverse of that is also true. So like if you treat Emily like garbage, like if you
Mhm.
kill Aemilius for points or something,
Right.
or you team up with the Lightning Lord,
Hmm.
like these are things that would be bad. If you work with what's his name, the conductor, if you work
Hmm.
with the conductor and he talks you into some bad shit, and you decide that like, oh, this evil is necessary to like save the future or whatever,
Hmm.
and like never compromise when fighting for the
Yeah,
future.
do not
Yes.
compromise when fighting for the future.
Cannot be clearer about that.
Which, by the way, I didn't say this at the time because we were not yet in the say it out loud era, but that was a spin on do not compromise, not even in the face of Armageddon, which is one of the more noble points made by um, Rorschach from Watchmen. That's it. That's something that sticks with me.
Mm,
There's a lot of messed up things about Rorschach that people think are cool because they spend too much time on Reddit, but. Uh, that one I think is pretty solid. Like compromise, you don't when you call someone compromised, that's not good. Um, what you're looking for is like collaboration or something like that. But compromise means going negative. You know?
yeah.
Very true.
You don't want Elvis to become compromised.
Right. Yeah, that's really big. Um, I vaguely remember there being like we talked about alternate endings with how Emily went. Um like
Mm.
a full Emily Mackey um version where in the tower,
Yeah, that definitely
right?
would have played into like Elvis having a bad end. Is like
Hmm.
uh if Emily were like poorly handled, or like not even like treated by you guys, but like if you left her, if you like failed to save her, you
Hmm.
failed to find her.
Hmm.
If you had like never really looked for her, if you had been like, we just need to do this first, we can do that later.
Yeah.
We need to do something else first. We
Mhm.
need to find Dr. Light first. Then like uh those are other ways that things can progress in negative directions. And like all of these are like pretty soft. Like
Mhm.
each individual one of these things,
Mhm.
not any one of them would like damn you to a bad ending. And like each time I would, anytime you would like go in a direction of one of these, I like push back against it. I go like, okay, I'm going to signal to you that this is a bad decision.
Mhm. I feel like a lot of
So
those didn't get across, and we wound up just like for my case, I wound up pushing as hard as I did for Emily, trying to save Emily because I just like her. I'm personally attached to her. I'm personally involved in Emily as a character, and I want to know with certainty that we tried to save her.
mhm.
Yeah, I think that is, I'm very happy to hear that. I don't
Mhm.
you know I don't know anyone's opinions about the characters. That's something that never comes up when I'm being asked
Mhm.
questions. Is what do you guys like? Which characters do you like? Like I get that people think that Pearl's cool. And I'm like, okay, I guess put Pearl back in. You know, uh, everyone kind of thinks that Samson's really cool, and I'm like, hey guys, I like Samson too, but like he's like your shitty uncle, okay? He's like,
Yeah.
you know, he will beat up a guy who threatens you, but also like he did do some really bad shit back in Vietnam, and like he hasn't apologized about it yet, and like you don't want to force him to do that because it feels bad.
Yeah.
So everyone's just kind of dancing around it, you know, like he's more goal driven than that. So like
Mm.
he's currently has good goals.
Yeah. What on that topic? What was it like for you when I said to Samson to try and wake him up in the last episode? Come on, buddy, it's not a good future without you, or the future is not complete without you. Something like that.
I thought that was a very interesting thing
Mm.
for one of you guys to say to Samson. I think that felt like to me like you're going for the 100% run, and you're like, I want every good character to live, and I want every bad character to die, and I want it to be perfect.
Yeah.
I want to
Mhm.
make sure we nail it.
Yeah.
And like I think we basically did, like
Mhm.
except for a couple times. You know, some people get lost in the desert on the way.
Yeah.
Cheers to the friends and allies we lost along the way.
Yeah.
Apathy is a powerful emotion. Powerful non-emotion? Who knows?
It's an emotion.
I'm comfortable calling that an emotion. Yeah. I say with a certain kind of authority on the subject.
Wink, wink. Nod, nod.
Yeah.
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 Wink
You know,
and
you can
nod.
Turn the dial up
you
and
can-
down.
You can look at it. I feel like because Hantayumi is like a true ending boss, he is an avatar of 2 stats instead of 1.
Mhm.
Like as any good true final boss is, like true secret final boss is in like an RPG. The secret final boss is tougher than the mainline final boss.
Mm.
So he's seeking annihilation instead
Yeah.
of just separation.
Did we ever say in recording that has rhymes with your theory about how the end of Ruby would go?
I mean, I just think it's like how stories would end, where like you have the muscle, and you have like Indiana Jones, you have muscle, which is a fight, and then you have like the final encounter, which is like more more character driven.
Mhm.
But before that, you usually have just like the brawl. We kind of did an inversion of that,
Mhm.
where Hantayumi is like, you can't talk down Hantayumi, you just have to beat him like to the punch, literally. But
Yeah.
Elvis is a character who you know, and like you know a lot about them, and you know that they're important. You know their vulnerabilities, you know what makes them human, etc. But like Hantayumi, like you can't really talk down Hantayumi. You don't know shit about him.
Yeah. And he doesn't have any connection. He lacks humanity in a pretty true way.
Yeah, I mean, he literally does. He doesn't have that.
Yeah. Um, I wanted to flag the Ruby thing because as a lover of Ruby, this structure is at least what I expect would have happened if with an unbroken line of development on Ruby, where they get to the end and then they talk to Salem. Salem is a dialogue boss because she's immortal, and then after defeating her as a dialogue boss, you have to fight Cinder Fall. And so
I would think
it happening in that
those
order, like
I think those happen in the other order. Like you fight
I-
Cinderfall and then you get a dialogue boss. But yeah, basically.
I kind of like it either way, and the violence coming second after the heart victory makes the violence feel way more dire than if we hadn't had the heart victory still in front of us. Because
Okay.
we just won the emotional center, like we have just restored humanity to the world in a really big way. But we could all immediately lose it to the jaws of annihilation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I said before the last episode, or I think I said it during it. If I didn't, I said this right before we started recording. I said, do we want to have like a victory lap tone or a this is the most dire hour tone? And like I was trying to decide which one of those I wanted.
Mhm.
In the end, I went with the hopeful tone because we're hope punk.
Yeah. It. Okay. Okay. Now, I know from setup, that being in this place is probably going to melt your computer. So we can't. Whenever you need to, we can take a break, and change venues.
Transition. There you are.
I thought
There
it
you
was.
go.
Yeah, I had this lined up.
All right. Perfect.
All right, now we're back. 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay. So, gnomes.
Gnomes.
Um,
Gnomes were really funny. I loved that.
Gnome- yeah, Alvis was so convinced that gnomes were like critically important, and that it paid off right away in the biggest way. And then I had my gnome book connection. I still have the book right next to me here in my recordings.
Still don't read that book, by the way.
It's
Why not?
fine. It's like the
fine.
gnome book is fine. Like there's some alchemy books that, if you follow the things that they say to do, maybe you blow yourself up or poison yourself, and maybe you wind up contacting some demons. Don't do that. But the gnome book is fine.
Okay.
Gnome book's fine.
Right?
It's just like a funny children's book.
Mm-hmm. It's the source material for the TV show David the Gnome.
Yeah, I don't think David the Gnome is secretly trying to trick you to summon demons.
David the Gnome is maybe the most wholesome thing I've ever seen.
Wow.
It's top 5 at least. Probably top 3. So how did you hear about this gnome book to put it into the story?
Okay, so I was looking up, like, okay, what happened in 1980? Any things that happened, like, in 1980 or 1979? That gnome book, I think, comes out in, like, January 1980.
Mm-hmm.
And it, like, becomes a New York Times bestseller.
Mm-hmm.
And then people start reporting that they see gnomes because mass hysteria. And then, like, there's some news stories about that. And I thought, oh, yeah, Alvis definitely read that book and is like, gnomes, dude, they're real, I swear. And then I picked like a totally random detail out of the book to be true, and then all like the rest of it is just like, I'm sure some stuff lines up if you go read it, but yeah. Then you had your random connection to the book, which you then flipped to the book to a totally random page and got to the one thing that I pulled out of it.
Yeah. I was in my friend Ash's house. She had this book and was like, I think I'm going to get rid of this. Do you want it? And I look at it and I'm like, gnomes, huh? That looks like David the Gnome. I flip open to the page and I look at it and I read it. I do a double take. I'm like, this is important. Can I have this?
Yeah, not only that, like that was between the week that
Uh-huh.
you had that episode, and then before the very next episode we recorded, you had that happen. So you were like, gnomes. What's up with
Yeah.
gnomes?
That's hand of God right there.
Hand of God, for real.
This
Yeah,
this is a blessed work of art.
yeah, that's definitely the funniest thing that could have happened with the gnome book. That's something that I cannot plan for.
Yeah.
Okay, that follows nicely into one of my questions, though. So I'll ask
That's why
you.
there's also like alien abduction books in there. Like those didn't come up, but
Yeah.
like those are also on the shelf. It was just me, like, I picked a few books at basically random, just like, okay, what's like weirdo conspiracy books that would have been like reasonably popular by 1980. So there's some cult books in there also, etc. And it's just like skim through them, find something that's kind of funny, note it down, like throw it on the shelf, forget about it.
And okay, I also need to ask regarding the gnomes. Okay, so it's the bird footprints thing. Is it that, like, my theory about this now is that because there's already a mass hysteria, general people are projecting this gnome stuff out into the like psychic scape of the environment, and the shades who are wandering through our world, whenever that is a thing that is, they get pressed on by this. It's like being made out of clay and having somebody like put a fingerprint into you. That was my theory.
Specifically the thing that happened is that Derek Watson gets thrown into into the train platform, and then like one of them like grabs onto his coattails, and then like he pulls them out with him.
Okay.
That's why one appears in like episode 2.
Derek who? I think I may have been underneath the last light and don't even remember the name of this person.
Yeah.
We lost him
We had a few
immediately.
casualties. We've had a couple casualties over the course of a couple of us couldn't make it.
True. Saving the world, some sacrifice involved.
The cost was high,
Yeah.
but that's a price I'm willing to pay. Okay. Is there a specific reason why the shade left the bird footprints? Or was that just a way to get the gnome book to be true?
That was a way to get the gnome. That was me invoking the gnome book specifically. I was like, it has bird feet though, because that's weird. But I changed the bird feet because the bird feet in the gnome book is like a bird foot with like 1 toe down and then 3 toes up. I just changed it to be 1 toe down, 2 toes up because numerology.
Yeah.
Because 3 is important. Remember when you didn't know that 3 was important?
Yeah.
Hey, 3.
3.
3 was so important. We went from 4-player characters to 3.
Yeah.
Wu-Tang.
Yeah, we did go from 4-player characters to 3, and when it happened, I went. It was meant to happen, I guess.
Okay. Yeah, because the game was originally designed for 3 players, and then there was hey, can I play?
There was a hey, can I play, and then actually no, like within like 2 weeks, and I was like, all right, bye. I didn't do much work for your character because you joined last minute.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. Or maybe I did not realize that in the first place.
That there wasn't a whole lot of work to go along with Derek?
Yeah, that the game was meant for 3 players initially.
Oh yeah, that was explicit. I said like I need 3 players. And then they were like, can I play also? And I was like, I don't have a great reason why you can't other than numerology. So fine, you can play.
Yeah, if you're in a situation where numerology is the reason you're stopping a friend of yours from playing a game, you're in too deep.
True, true, true.
Yeah,
Sorted
they
itself out
resolved it
anyway.
anyways. They resolved it
Yeah.
anyways.
Mhm.
Clean.
Nukes are bad, kids.
Nukes are bad. That's one of the core foundations of command line. Nuclear bombs, bad.
Hmm.
Is there okay? Like you had to have research like a bunch of stuff. Is there
Hmm.
anything you found that you thought was like really interesting or cool, but that did not fit the game?
Okay, so originally I was gonna have you guys like I kind of wanted you guys to like fly, like get on a plane at some point and go somewhere else.
Hmm.
I kind of wanted to go to Laos
Mm.
because of like the whole like giant pot zone. There's also a giant. There's a mountain
Hmm.
in. I think it's like ancient China. I would have just said it's down there because whatever, or like I would have put it on the same trip. This would
Hmm.
have been either like some kind of anthology episode or something. I don't know.
Hmm.
Uh, but it didn't make the cut. But there's a mountain that's like filled with pipes, like
Mm.
like an ancient like those there's like in like Western United States, there's like maybe this was in Western United States. I don't remember. But there's like an ancient city basically, and they have like plumbing throughout an entire mountain, but like only the plumbing is left, and we don't know where the city went.
Oh, that's
What?
fascinating.
And it's really fucking weird. It's just there's tubes going through this mountain, and I'm like, that's fucking weird. Let's do some shit with that.
What?
Uh,
That's super cool, and I am intensely interested in that. That lines up with some other stuff that I think. I'm just gonna
yeah,
tell people to look into tube drills.
yeah, just flag tube drills.
Yeah, there's a channel that talks about it called something like History X or something like that. He really like slow feeds you, X. He really slow feeds the crazy stuff that he believes in. So he has like fully empirical, reasonable videos, and then uh, aliens
Suke
or
soy
something.
Fose.
Yeah, that's perfect command line energy right
Yeah,
there.
yeah, it's really good. Um, it's a good exercise in asking unanswerable questions, which is another thing with this is a recurring theme in my life is asking like finding a question that all answers you would consider normal are implausible. And so only the ridiculous remains. And it just forces you to expand what you think is possible. Along with that, um, we have talked a lot about how command line feels like it has some kind of universal applicability. So many times we have been like watching a movie or a show or reading a book randomly and we like stop in the middle and we're like, is this command line?
Is it? Yep.
Is this lightning right now?
Yeah, this is a mystical quality that I'm not even sure if like I have pinned down as to how it happened.
Hmm.
Like, I threw a lot of stuff in, right? Like command line, it's about truth, it's about like dynamics amongst humans and like how do we cope with like people having different perspectives and stuff like that. It's founded in like these very like universal things, which is why there's a whole season about like the most ancient of myths, like reliving the most ancient of myths. But
Uh,
like you are seeing how those kind of stories like form,
Mhm.
and that's like we're supposed to be echoing, and like we do another one of those. Like Command Hearts could be one of those also. Like I think like Command Hearts has like the same sort of structure as one of those. But like Command
Yeah.
Line is very much like it's not like a myth at all because it's like weird and episodic.
Mhm.
Well, take that back. Myths are very episodic, but it's like
Yeah.
um Like it just has like a different structure where like a lot of what matters is like investigation. When like in MIT's, investigation is like literally never a thing that happens. People just know things because it's like you don't need to retell the investigation part when you're orating a story multiple times. So like those are the parts that get left by the wayside. So everybody just always knows what they're doing in stories like that, or like everyone always knows what's going on. If that makes sense.
I really like seeing your rib cage snap back into place every once in a while.
Also, I keep muting in game. Minor thing. I keep muting in game because I have that as like a thing, but I'm sure whatever hot miking is coming through is going to Discord.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Know that I think about it before I do it. I just don't have a bind for it.
Okay. What are some things that we discovered after we were a good chunk of the way through that were very command line? Children of Men was a big one.
Big one.
Fantastic
Didn't
film,
know
by the
about.
way.
Stellar.
Every film bro who's worth listening to that I know of really likes Children of Men. I realized film bro that's worth listening to is like a really narrow cross section of the population. I'm specifically citing Cold Crash Pictures as the one that people might know. What else? What are some things?
Lawnmower Man.
Lawnmower Man. We were watching that and suddenly struck by how command line it was.
Yeah. That was a fun one.
The film more than the short story.
Oh yeah. The short story doesn't matter. Just the weird film. Yeah, this is something that I think needs to come out in, all of the papers that will eventually be written about the masterwork that is Command Line.
True.
They will try to diagnose how all of culture revolves around it, or how it found a cultural center point from which a macrocosm spurs outward.
Yeah. Let's see. There was a couple of anime and maybe a game that went along with it too. Can we think of other examples of this thing? I just want more examples that aren't mine.
The Matrix? I thought that was a direct reference. Those are direct references.
Yeah, that was like part of development, right?
Yeah. Elden Ring is a big influence. The two cores of, by the way, the two cores of Command Line are Elden Ring and The Matrix. And as long as I'm making media connections, simply because this is the thing I thought of, simply because the last volume is supposed to be like Mega Man 2, because the album. Simply because that is true, I also thought of like, okay, what other two NES games are the other two seasons? And if you're wondering, it's Command X is Legend of Zelda, and Command Line is Metroid.
Interesting.
Which happen to be the three best NES games.
I remember this being said. This shit blew my mind the first time.
Metroid is the one that I understand the least out of this, but we do fight the father brain, I guess. So,
you also go into caves a lot. There's a lot of going down imagery like invoked in it. It's a lot of investigation. It's like slow. Yeah, it's like thematically connected. Aliens.
Yeah, we are like foreign entities, like learning to navigate and like this planet and its people.
Yeah, you get new moves for navigation in the form of like, okay, hey, rules work different in this train zone. You see that ladder up there? Just grab it. Just like reach up, grab it, and like that's how it works. And like, yeah, there's connections. There's connections there. It's obviously a little loose because I just thought of it and I thought, well,
Yeah.
which one makes the most sense? That one. But like that wasn't really like a guiding principle or anything.
Father
We didn't go
brain.
into
That's
too many
so-
caves in Command X. We went into like 2. Yeah, just 2, I think.
Yeah, yeah. I don't think we ever set into a recording of like speaking of father brain. I don't think we ever set into a recording the hard time that I had dealing with our deaths at the end of that one because I like didn't know the space of where we were going.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
at that time were like borderline on, is the game even worth continuing if we die here? And I'm like, whether you die there or not literally doesn't matter, like long
Yeah.
term.
Yeah.
And I know that now.
Yeah.
uh,
Cause like usually what death meant was like a reset, or like we yeah, like literally a reset. We just play out a new timeline, a new cycle. So like yeah, death there. Uh, like because because we were like the robot bodies were like separate to our like actual like lives, like souls, right?
mhm,
I
Your
was
wills.
I was the least worried about us dying in like command in
Hearts
yeah, command hearts.
against Hantayumi.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, annihilation is scary
hmm
because like
Yeah. At that time, I had a moment that sort of echoed it, where, like these two things like are parallel to each other because I felt like a pretty severe shock on that, but I was like, I've been through this before, and it was fine. I'm just gonna keep going. It took me a while to get to that point mentally, but the conclusion was I'm gonna keep going.
Yeah, the first time it happened though for Command Line, where you have like a machine gun and you're shooting at Dr. Light, there's the whole thing where you're like your catalyst was like fight against the inevitable.
Yeah.
And I was like I was like, yeah, it's the inevitable. You fight against it. You do a great job of fighting against it, but it is inevitable. You do not stop it.
Mhm. Using the catalyst is the thing that makes it inevitable, from your perspective, which is an angle that I wasn't thinking about it at. And even if I was, I had meant to flag in when we had just rescued Emily that it is a change in my catalyst to the inevitable. Put quotes around inevitable. That's really important.
Yes, but you didn't do that in play.
I didn't.
So I got you.
yeah,
I didn't say it to you that like this is a change that has happened, even though my perspective on it had changed. This is why we need to say it out loud, and this
Say
is
it
why we
out
live
loud.
eternally in the say it out loud era.
Yeah. Man, that's oh my god, Roma, genius.
It's a
Thank you,
great
thank you.
storytelling moment. And despite any reservations that I had at the time, I did acknowledge it's an amazing storytelling moment.
Yeah. Also, how many important characters die in Command Line and then just like come back later? Isn't that like a whole that's a whole through line on the entire show? Which like you didn't know that at the time. Fair
Right.
enough. Remember, I had the entire story in my brain, and I'm like, oh yeah, they just die right there. Like whatever. It's just a cool way to end it.
Mm-hmm.
It's either that or you get like thrown into the train zone, and like those are the same narratively, or like those are the same like mechanically. But like narratively, it's much more satisfying to just be like, you are hunted down like dogs and killed by the state.
Yeah. I thought that I had given us a total party wipe because I had played badly in this way. So I felt really responsible for how everything went.
That's your main character complex coming in right there.
I
That's
mean,
your main character complex.
Yes, I generally like the main character complex in my real life springs out of my readiness to take responsibility for other people's shit. which I do constantly.
You do it very often.
What was the question that you asked exactly? What is your worst, most heroic trait?
Yeah, I think I did ask that. It was part of the interview part.
Hmm.
All right.
Yeah.
That like mid like season interview
Hmm.
was crucial.
Oh yeah.
I really appreciated that. That helped to
Hmm.
like recenter us like really well.
Yeah. Like
Hmm.
we had taken like a month off, so I felt that it was needed.
I agree.
Drink acquired.
Okay.
Invisijuice.
Yeah. Um, there was one of the lines in the first album was we have seen something like the heroes of legend and found them less than mortals, something like that.
Yeah.
Um,
We have seen the heroes at the top. We have found them less than mortals.
yeah. There was a couple of ways that came up that we talked about at the previous recording. One of them was uh, the Lightning Lord, um, not Gilgamesh. Come on, Enlil Uruk.
In
Uruk, yeah.
Lil Uruk.
Yeah, um, that guy. But another one was what we were gonna go do at DC, right? Um, the Senate hearing where that we sequence broke to dodge entirely.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. Where you know, you meet people who are
Mhm.
big and important and like they don't matter. Or like not only do they not matter, but they're like actively working against their own interest and like they don't even realize it.
Mm.
Hmm.
Where like Dr. Light's coming for you all, you know.
Hmm.
You got a brain. You got a brain, not anymore, fool.
How many of those? How many people in the government had been converted into cogs at that time?
I would say it's fewer than you would think. Like it's probably a very small number. Um,
Well, one of the problems with humanity is that it doesn't take that much
yeah, it
because they already suck.
probably takes like 3%, like two
Hmm.
or 3%, and then like that's enough.
Especially if you get the right 2 or 3%
Hmm.
Yeah, because like the goal
all
wasn't
that
to
money.
replace everybody. Like that
Right.
wasn't the goal. The goal was just to like keep everything flowing smoothly until you could just bomb everyone out of existence all at once.
Hmm.
Which you know, 1980 we were pretty close to that.
Yeah. Um, you said around the time that I asked you about that the first time, like this is like 3 months ago now. Um, you said that Maki was going to be there. Is that right?
Yeah, so Maki was going to be at like the Senate hearing,
Mhm.
and like basically there's going to be a bunch of like, you know, they're going to be talking about stuff and like freedoms, blah blah, and like they're wondering what to, and like the Senate would be talking about that. You would probably Sheila would have stood up, and Sheila would have stood up, like given her speech, blah blah. People would have, you know, argued, blah blah, and then like
Mhm.
Maki comes in, shuts the whole thing down, goes, "It's this way," and then like just leaves, and everyone just like knows to go with it, or like maybe you overhear like a young politician be like, "Who's that?" And then someone goes, "Oh, don't worry about it." Uh, and like at that point, uh, you would have had hopefully Samson with you, or like you would have Samson on your tail at least.
Mhm.
And then you would both be going towards her because Samson's goal was to find Emily because he's like, hey, uh, Samson's whole deal is that like at some point Emily like disappears or like goes totally off radar, and he's like her main guard, so he's like looking for her.
Gotcha.
And that's because like the plan is finalizing. We don't need you anymore. You are diverted to here. And then Samson has like he has gotten enough like experience in his head to where he like has achieved personhood.
Right on. Um. Hmm. Hmm. Okay, we covered her. Oh, right. Um, regarding Samson, um, when we like threw a grenade at him and stuff, what was supposed to happen at that time when we were like trying to duck Samson at the base? I feel like he was supposed to catch us, and we just um made a series of lucky rolls and got out of it.
No, I think that was just supposed to introduce you to Samson. That's all it is. It's just like,
Yeah.
oh, hey, there's a big guy. He's a big cog. He's tough. Look out. He's like the Terminator. And like that was it, you know?
Okay.
You weren't supposed to like meet him and then like learn a bunch of stuff. You could have. I would have let it happen. But what's his name? Conciliat. Conciliat would have probably been like, that guy's a cog. Don't trust him. Don't trust anything he says.
True.
You know, he would have led you astray.
Okay.
He didn't really stick around long enough to lead you astray because he just fucking dies. Because
Yeah.
you rolled 2 ones in a row, and then I'm like, well, he sacrifices himself to save you, and then he dies off screen.
Yeah. What was he supposed to do? Like outside of this?
He would have probably come back to school with you.
Mm.
And then he would have been like a side character for a little bit.
Okay. That's cool.
Yeah, he probably wouldn't have made it to the train platform at the end of the season, but he probably would have stuck around for a little bit more. You know, he wouldn't like move into your dorms or anything. I mean, maybe he would. Maybe he would have. And then he could have just done something in like the anthology episode and then been on the train with you guys. And like maybe he teaches you to do like some more magic shit. I don't know. But also he probably starts saying some stuff that's like, oh yeah, I gotta find my master. I gotta like get a note from him or something.
Yeah.
You know, start sending up some red flags.
It would have been a good way to get more of how to do psychic techniques in, because I was going too slow in like introducing or like experimenting with stuff that I know how to do outside of this context within the game. If I should have started to do that a lot sooner, I think, but I wanted to arrive there in a way that I felt was natural character-wise. And
yeah, I think we got there.
Yeah, we got there eventually, but if I had it to do over again, I would have done it a lot faster, because what I was feeling at the time was like, all right, other players don't have enough like they don't think about it the way that I think about it, and so they're not just going to charge ahead doing stuff in this way.
Very true.
Yeah, I think that's very true.
Yeah.
What is it called? Yeah, like, you know, like Simon didn't have a good grasp on like how the mechanics are playing out or like how the themes work, because Simon was trying to think about it in like terms of Psywars.
Yeah. And
a lot of the time, and I'm like,
related, but a very different game.
Yeah. Like Psywars had like connection stuff going on in it, but that's about it. Other than that, it was just like whatever I thought made fantasy sense. That was a lot about like energy transfers and stuff, and like that's not really a thing in command line, because it's like, you know, as long as you are that magic, you don't ever like hit like expend your energy really.
Yeah.
You have like an endless well of it to tap into, as
Mhm.
long as you're not like getting hurt and like losing points.
Mhm.
Right. Um, a part of why I was going slow on it also, the thing that like kept me from just pushing super hard is I feel like I felt at the time like if I did that, I would have been stealing the spotlight too often. And then I think there was a moment in Command Hearts where the truck full of clothes is pulling away from us, and and after that episode, I'm like, okay, fine. If nobody else is going to take the spotlight in moments where I step back, I'm just gonna take it every time, and you can take it from me.
This is, I think, the superior way of playing. Like,
Hmm.
someone needs to always step up. If two people step up, then like two people can do something.
Yeah, that's the way to go.
I think that did inspire us to be a little bit more bold.
Oh yeah, no, I
Me
think that was
grabbing
a
the spotlight all the time, or the moment.
that
No,
was a
cause
big
like,
moment of. Go ahead.
cause like, I like in the truck moment specifically, I like felt you like nudge me in particular, and I was like,
Mhm.
okay, I get it, I understand. And then I think that was the episode. Like after that, we introduced like the tenants. Oh no, that the tenants were there since Command X. Yeah.
Yeah, that was spurred on because of the my observation of how often people didn't get it what Roma was trying to say in the show.
Yeah,
Um,
that was a big you get it and the other two don't really get it moment, I
and
think.
only about some things, even because like, there was a lot of stuff that I didn't get that you had to explain to me, and we had this whole like we took a week break or something like that, and then there was the we introduced the say it out loud era as a
Mhm.
result of that.
Yeah, because I was like, oh yeah, it's a truck full of clothes.
Hmm.
And that I figured would have read immediately to anyone who knows what the Holocaust is. It's like,
And
oh, that's really bad. Oh fuck.
when we were in the truck, I think I got it. Um, huh,
Because like the guy is in the bar, just say like, oh yeah, there's a truckload of clothes out front. Just like go pick some.
yeah, that didn't scan.
Yeah, that's not supposed to scan. That's supposed to make you go like, okay, there's some clothes out there. We can go get some.
Mhm.
Hmm.
And you go out there and you go, wait a second. Why is a dump truck full of clothes?
And then we
Oh
see
shit.
and then we see two cogs.
Hmm. Yeah. Um, so about the beginning of the say it out loud era, I remember you being like artistically depressed about this, where there was a bunch of stuff that you thought was really super clear that the players didn't get it whatsoever, even when you bring it back up and flag it as something that's important. Um, do you want to talk about your frustrations at that time?
Yeah, I think that because I want people to understand.
Hmm.
And like, if I have to explain something more than once for it to be understood, that's all right. I
Hmm.
accept that. Uh, but whenever I think I'm like being exceedingly clear,
Hmm.
it feels like no. It feels like you guys, the players, and like this isn't necessarily true, but like this is how it feels emotionally for me. It feels like you're just not like paying attention. You're
Hmm.
just like, okay, what does the room look like so I can do a cool backflip?
Mm.
Right.
When I'm like, hey, that's some very clear imagery. If you saw that in a picture, I think it would really be clear. Like, I think you would have to try to disinterpret the image.
Mhm.
But because it's just like things that I'm saying, it's easy to like glaze over. or to like not look at details in their context.
And then we
Uh,
found out that one of our players had aphantasia.
Yeah, but
funny
I've
with
got no
that.
excuse for that. Like, I was picturing things in high detail the whole time, and there was so much stuff that I missed just because of like you really have to the point that I kept making in which led to the phrasing "say it out loud" era was if it is not explicit, you cannot rely on anyone getting it. The hit rate for trying to communicate things implicitly is like 5% or less. Like there were times where like father brain, for instance, I only got that today. Like, and it makes
Yeah.
sense in retrospect. Like, especially when you tag it with a Metroid thing. I'm like, oh, father brain, mother brain. Command line is about gender. Yeah. Even
There's a lot of,
mhm,
Freud would have a field day, as someone would say.
mhm. even like even the phrase command line is about gender, that was not obvious for a really long time. And I
That's
think it's
so
part
true.
of one of our conversations about starting the say it out loud era led to that insight being said explicitly.
Hey guys, command line is about gender.
Yeah.
Yeah,
In
and
particular.
Star Wars is about power,
Mhm.
but
If
we're not talking about Star Wars.
it,
Star
I
Wars is
believe
long dead.
I believe we have said it explicitly, but just in case we hadn't, when we say command line is about gender, there's a lot of stuff along with it about um, like the main touchstone for me personally is this is the story about how men have been trying to dominate women since the dawn of history and earlier.
Uh, yes to the and earlier, and also like
Hmm.
part of it, like in Command X is like, okay, the initial separation between living things
Hmm.
is the thing that creates like a dichotomy of masculinity and femininity.
Hmm.
And one of those is coded as bad, and one of those is coded as good. And
Yeah.
there are few exceptions to those two things.
Hmm.
Uh, and instigation is like material. It's like kind of without like a gender assignment.
Yeah. It's like life, like being a lot, like being biological material.
Mhm.
I'd say it's like blood.
Yeah. Um, there's an there's a we'll say it a mind thing that you can do where if you are clever and you pay attention to yourself immensely, you can find that emotions are an activity, which means that that's a dial that you can turn up and down at will once you learn how to do it. And that is influential on separation because that is separating you from your emotions. Where connection is highly emotional, um, this like muting your emotions is a separation activity and a, a kind of a like repeating piece of masculine psychology that you see all the time in a lot of different places. Compartmentalization is the thing that a lot of men tout as like one of their good, best, useful features,
Yeah,
I
as a
guess.
strength,
Right.
psychological hardiness.
Yeah. And I have definitely used that quite a lot. Um,
I outlined this to you specifically in dialogue, I think outside the show,
hmm,
that I consider like separating yourself from your emotions to be a highly masculine activity.
Yeah,
Mhm. Hmm,
yeah, and
I
to the point where it can be dysphoria create inducing to do it, to remember that you have this ability and then use it.
Yes.
Yeah,
I want
fascinating.
I want to be semantic just for a little bit, if you will allow me.
Pedantic,
Do
but
it.
go on.
I
Do
literally mean semantic. Like I want, like, me, always on the literal meaning of things, right?
Uh-huh.
I feel like there's a difference between like muting and repressing. Cause I think the content, like, cause my contention there is that the thing that men do is that they repress. They do not like mute. They do not like soften. They shut out entirely, or like as much as you possibly could.
Well, even if you do the muting, it's like using extreme painkillers to treat a broken bone. Like you haven't fixed the problem. And this is the thing that always like gets me in reverse. People want to treat the pain, but they don't want to treat the bone with me. And that's why like this is such a thing of like my emotional state being produced out of um material conditions or the world state or something like that is hard on other people because they're only equipped to do comforting. They are not equipped to change how things are. And it can
Yeah, I
lead
hear
to
ya.
situations where, like, somebody who cares about me a lot is like trying to make me feel better, and it's
True.
not really within their power. Because, like, okay, this thing is broken. Can you unbreak it? I feel bad that I ruined this item. The thing that fixes it is a, another of this item, which is maybe not beyond. Maybe that's not beyond your capacity. And but to somebody who's used to actually like comforting people, that is so unintuitive. So
Yeah,
that's an
you're hard to
opposite thing.
handle, Tarbuck Transom. You're hard to handle.
After
uh,
I have to go for like 5 minutes. I will be back. Little
hmm,
small
Are,
emergency.
are we just recording? Are we still recording or are we pausing?
all right. Took a little bit of a break. I think we were closing out the frustration of the say it out loud era. I think one of the things that was about that that I talked to you about is, hey, how do you feel about Hideaki Anno right now? Uh,
Yeah. I think I was saying like, yeah, it's frustrating that people like
mhm,
fundamentally won't get it. Like they won't afford you the full
mhm,
grunt of analysis that you want them. Uh, you have to, even if you think you're cornering a lot of disinterpretations,
mhm,
people's imagination is stronger than their ability to observe. Like their
mhm.
imagination is stronger than their observations.
Right.
So if you give them a detail like, oh yeah, the tree's got pink leaves, everyone will fucking fixate on the pink leaves.
Yeah, because at the time I thought that the leaves were glowing. I'm like, pink energy. What does that mean? We can do something with that. Is that eternity? Is that time? And if I had been corrected about no, the leaves are not glowing pink, there is there is this gold light everywhere, then I did like that would have changed so much about how I interacted with that entire space.
Yeah, that was just like I had uh what was it? There was just a hmm. Yeah, like I'm like, dude, it's just a cherry blossom tree.
Mhm.
Like that's all it is. Technically it's a Bodhi tree, but
Mhm.
fucking, cherry blossoms. Dude, Hantayumi, he's Japanese.
Yeah.
How do you show that a guy is Japanese? You meet him under a cherry blossom tree. Clear. And everyone's like, what does the pink mean? Tell me what the pink means.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I had this whole like extra theory about like primary and secondary colors of light versus pigment and stuff, and that was like a whole mess that I got into
Which
Man.
I was
as a
having
result of
fun
that.
with because I
Mhm.
was like, I haven't thought about like how do you fill out all the other colors? Because I
Mhm.
was just like, it's red, yellow, blue.
Yeah.
Clean.
Some of my thinking about color might show up again when I run What If I Made Star Wars But Better? Um, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So for people who are watching this and don't know this Hideaki Anno moment, what I was asking about was anytime Hideaki Anno gets asked what Evangelion means or is about, he gets this really like depressed and awkward look on his face and doesn't really say anything.
I did not know that.
Yeah, with the interpretation from that being, what do you mean? What does it mean? I said it already by making the art.
Yeah. Like it should have been clear.
Right. But things are often unclear.
Hideaki Anno should not make video games.
Mm. Hopefully he stays pure and he never tries to make a video game. Okay.
Don't worry. I don't think he has any impulse to do such a thing.
Me neither. Um, Speaking of saying it out loud, um, I wasn't reading a handwriting thing correctly this one time way back when we were looking at the current name of who we would later know as Emily. It was Electra, not Alexra. I just read a tau as a zeta.
Yeah, but pretty close.
Yeah.
That's just like a hey guys, the Pleiades. Do you know what the
hmm
Pleiades?
hmm
They're probably around here somewhere.
Yeah. There's also maybe like the Electra complex because
That too.
there's like being your own grandfather slash being your own grandmother slash being your own granddaughter, etc.
I thought it was called something else.
No, that there's these are different things. It's just that they have their romantic affiliation is never put on screen, presumably as a just in case thing, but their like lineage or affiliation always is.
Hmm.
That's very explicit every time we see them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Oedipus is like
Mhm.
there's Oedipus and Electra as two types of complex.
Yeah.
Okay, okay, right, yeah.
Also, that's what one of the Pleiades, Star of the Pleiades, is called.
hmm
That's the one that blinks out in the Command Hearts trailer.
hmm
Uh, I had it fucking scribed. I had it inscribed in an image. So that way, it was like, oh, you look up what this person's called. Yeah, sure. Here you go. Like you look it up in the book. Here's what the page looks like. Because
hmm
I'm like, you don't know what that language is.
Yeah, very cool. I super love that. Let's see. Some other things. I don't remember if we said it in the episodes ever, because this was like a thing that we got said early a bunch of times, but the rails of the command line are Occam's razor and Arkham's razor. Um, Everybody knows Occam's razor. It's don't include additional details when or additional premises when the premises you have are sufficient to explain a situation. Um, but Arkham's razor is in fiction, if you're in fiction about ghosts and you encounter a problem, the cause of it is usually ghosts. If you're in Scooby-Doo and you see a monster, 99 times out of 100, the monster is going to be a rich old white guy or something like that.
Yeah,
To the
it's gonna be
point
a
where
mystery to solve.
Shaggy Rogers is a billionaire, and he's like, no, I don't want land. I don't want to inherit any of that stuff. You know how many people I have seen do the worst things in the world for land? Amazing thing to put diegetically into your Scooby-Doo show. Love that. Anyway, Arkham Razor for us is if we are psychics, and therefore the thing that is likely to be at the root of every problem is something psychic. I am often quoted as saying, beware Arkham's Razor, which is do not assume that the cause of something is supernatural just because you learned something supernatural.
Mhm.
Yeah, in
Yeah.
real life.
Right.
When you're playing a video game about being psychic, that's a different story.
Right. If you're if you're playing a video game about being psychic, whatever it is, it's probably something psychic related. When it turns out to be aliens or something,
You can be surprised.
you can be surprised.
Danny D would never be surprised.
Never surprised.
Not by aliens.
Not by
By
aliens.
aliens.
Only when it's not aliens.
Only when it's
Mhm.
not aliens.
Yeah. Did you want to talk about the I don't remember if in the last episode we asked about alternate possible endings for Emily. I remember one of the endings you were foreseeing is she goes full Maki and we wind up throwing her off the tower.
Yeah, her falling from the tower is like when you show up, she's ready to die. Okay,
Mhm.
that's where she's at. But she's just been like locked in this cage for so long, and when you like open the door and no alarms go off, that's when she like realizes that the cage is like of her own making, and that
Mm-hmm.
you know she can do whatever she can act as she would. Which if you were to like somehow open that door remotely and like no alarms go off, she'd probably just like wander off.
The cage of her own making is a really interesting framing because I think about the line from the first Proto Men album. A hero is just someone who knows that they're free. And that means that she can't be a hero until she knows that she's free.
Yeah. I'm glad you pulled that connection. That's very good of you. Good job. 10 points. 10
Yeah,
points for Rick Transom.
I got to make up for some of my earlier stuff. I do now, speaking of earlier stuff, have a bolt of memory about when Alvis gave me windshield wipers. And
Yeah.
you said a hand comes out and like wipes them. And I think I said that's some Dr. Wily ass design if I've ever seen it.
Yes, you did.
That is
There's a number of-
hilarious.
There's a number of moments like that in the command line where you just go, wow, that's just like this thing from Mega Man. And I just sit silently.
You quake. You quake. You're like, oh
Roma
my God.
behind behind the microphone, just vibrating in like trying to contain herself.
Let's see. Yeah, that's also part of how I learned I had Honoralia, because I'm like, oh yeah, I slightly distort this. Now I can't recognize it at all. All right, I'll just play this. And then you immediately went, it's that thing that I haven't heard in 10 years. And I'm like, how? How did you do that?
Listen, I really love Mega Man and the Proto Men in particular.
Well, no, like now someone plays a song from an
Mhm.
anime I haven't watched in 10 years. And I'm like,
Mhm.
oh shit, I know that song. And I'm like, having the ability to remember music is a superpower. But it's one that everybody has and that I didn't have.
Yeah. Yeah, very definitely.
Yeah, so I just had to play it off as like, oh, it's just like it just like lines up weird. I don't know.
Hmm.
That's weird. I don't know what that is.
Yeah, and
What are you
then
talking about?
her name is Emily, and I'm like, that's sly. And I at the time I thought that was as far as that was gonna go. I had the tools to put it together the whole time. Me,
Mistakes.
I think, more than anybody else.
Yeah,
That's
that's
100%
definitely
true.
true.
Yeah.
Where, like, let me think. What else is there? There's the arm. There's the arm that shoots lightning.
Hmm.
Pretty clear.
Arm that shoots lightning is pretty straightforward.
That's pretty straightforward.
Mhm.
You have to fight robots. They're called cogs. Let's see. I don't think they're cogs isn't like pulled from that. It's pulled from uh, Pawn Hearts,
Mhm.
which is good because if I would have called them Joes, it would have been way too obvious.
Right. Then I would have actually gotten it.
Yeah, you would have definitely gotten it. I definitely could not have played that off. Hmm. Can I get a can I get a behind the scenes question, or should I provide? I have
Well,
like one set of notes.
I have one final, like, very funny behind the scenes question,
Okay.
which is related to this link that I'm posting right here. Ricardo, if we could get that on screen.
Sure, no problem.
Please describe the link for me.
All right. There's a flag
Oh, oh,
divided
okay.
into
Yeah.
thirds: yellow, white, orange, and the title of the article is called Maverick, like Maverick, but in French.
Mm-hmm.
Maverick, Maverick is Maverick is an atrinary gender and is a term to describe those whose gender exists outside of masculinity, femininity, man, woman, neutral, or anything of the sort. Anything in between, while still having a gendered experience. It exists on his own plane of gender, separate from all the others. It is a gender characterized by autonomy and inner conviction regarding the sense of self that is entirely independent. Command line is about gender.
Command line's about gender, guys. I don't know if you know this.
um, I, you and I found this together, and then we posted it, and there was a whole bunch of like, what? How did you plan this?
How did she know?
Yeah. And then I added the Maverick to my list of epithets on any of my intros and stuff. Hey, how you doing? Um, and
Finally trans some. Let's go.
yes.
This is my gift to you, Carlos.
It's been my
Happy
birthday for
birthday.
over a year.
Yeah, it's August now.
Hmm.
I need somebody to make a compilation of every time Roma said "Happy Birthday, Tavuk."
Yeah, you might detect a slight change in shift as it goes along.
Hmm.
Happy birthday, Tarbuck.
Thank you. That one was very clean. Okay. So, this was entirely an accident. Can you talk about a couple of other things?
I don't know what you're talking about. totally
They
Can you
planned.
there's only try.
Mhm.
Sorry, there's only do and do not. There's no try.
Mm.
There are no accidents.
Yeah, that works in Star Wars when there's like the Force. I have thoughts about that. I think that is hashtag a more civilized age. So, um, other times through the development of the show, there are things that just line up perfectly, as though all of history is pointed straight at you.
Straight at you.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about any more of those moments, or do you want to leave it for people to guess?
Do I need to talk about Beowulf? Is Beowulf clear? Y'all know what Beowulf is?
Uh, Tell me again, because I didn't get this for the entirety of Command X. You had to say it out. This was one of our say it out loud era revelations.
Yeah. Okay. So Beowulf, right? One of the first. I think it's one of the first like old English stories. It's a really old story.
Yeah.
Yeah. The witch in the bog.
Mhm.
That's the title of the episode. That is like said in some translations of Beowulf,
Mhm.
where like you have to fight Grundle, and how do you beat? And like Grundle's a big guy who tries to eat one of your friends. Then you beat him up, and then he runs away back home, and you chase him to his like cabin in the swamp where his mom lives, and she's like feeding him out of a big nasty pot, and he's a big monster. So you wrestle with him, you break his giant arm off, and you beat him to death with it, and then you fight his witch mom and you kill her. And like that's Beowulf. That's how Beowulf goes.
Yeah.
Episode 2 is just Beowulf, which I thought everyone would be like, Beowulf. Got it.
Yeah. A part of it is that I don't conceive of Grendel's mother as being a witch, even though she very definitely is.
Even though she's literally named as a witch.
Yes, she is named as a witch in the text of the story. It's just that like that part of it didn't occur to me, I guess. That's not what stuck. The tears his arm off and beats him to death with it. That's a really like crystal clear Beowulf thing to have happen. I didn't get that one either.
Even though you did it. Even though you were the one
Even though
did it.
I did it. Yeah. I think you said something like, "Oh yeah, that's Tarbuck picking up on it and then doing it." Or something like that. No, I didn't get it at all.
I'm not familiar with Beowulf.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
There's one adaptation of it that was made in Hollywood VR Chat.
I know of that movie. I think I saw it when I was like really young, but not old enough to remember.
You don't know. Okay, so the way that they made that movie is they put all the actors in mocap suits and then took them to the stage that they had prepared, and they just had them do their thing and like capture it. They said, we're probably going to have the camera approximately here, so I, the director, will stand here, but you guys just go. And then like sometimes in post they would move the camera around. They had like full face tracking. They had motion capture for it, and that's how they made the entire movie.
Wow.
And they digitally scanned all the actors to put them on the models so that they could distort them in certain ways. That's how they got the main guy. Like it was Russell Crowe, I think, was Beowulf, and he was like 60 pounds over the character model, but because you're just motion tracking him, it doesn't matter. So he's like, oh, this is great. I don't have to get into shape this time. So I could book these two movies back to back. This movie that I have to like get big for, I don't have to immediately crash diet and like almost kill myself to for it to just like be able to film this movie. More movies should be made like this. And then just because the fact that it was a commercial flop, it didn't go very well. But they did use like video game technology to live render the movie so that they could watch what it would really look like it.
You said in VR chat, and I was like, huh? What are you talking about?
It's because the technology is very similar to the technology that runs VR chat. There's a 3D
Probably not
animated
in
children's
Unity.
show that there's a children's show that is animated like this, where they put people in these big wireframe suits, and those are just the actors. So that they're what they're doing is they're live capturing the footage of them acting the episode, so that they can make all kinds of adjustments as it needs. And on the screens around the um, arena where they film this, they can see it live rendering out to them of what as to what the camera angle is, so they can adjust their performance around it. It's a really cool technology.
Yeah, it's a similar type of thing. It's
Mhm.
probably not made in Unity, but I get
Yeah.
what you mean.
Um, yeah. Okay.
There's some
The
more of those, like
Mhm.
Beowulf. Beowulf is a story in Command X. There's the one that was picked up on is Gilgamesh.
Yeah.
Gilgamesh. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see. With like Humbaba and Uruk. Yeah.
Mhm.
That's like those are like more historical names.
Mhm.
Or well, Enlil Uruk is like the name of the guy who was probably like Beowulf. Come on, stay there. Yeah, or not Beowulf. Gilgamesh.
Gilgamesh.
That
Gotcha.
that's like the real guy who would have had the story written about him as if these were things he did. And Humbaba is a thing from that story. You guys are supposed to be who's his friend? What's his friend's name?
Um. Enkidu.
Enkidu, right? Yeah, because you're Beastman. All
Yeah.
Beastmen. Clear. What else? Oh yeah, you sail your ship until like you hit a storm and you all crash your ships that you made on an island with a cyclops.
Mm-hmm. That's the Odyssey.
Clear.
I
Again,
can't believe I didn't get Canine-ites.
Canaanites. Come on.
Canine-ites are the
That's a
Canaanites.
Bible one. That's a
Yeah,
Bible one.
and then like it's a Bible one, which is like my thing.
Yeah, no, there's another. The other Bible one is that like, dude, you walk along and you're following a star. You
Mhm.
get to where the star is, and there's the birth of someone really important, and you all give them a gift, and you're three traveling very smart people who know what's going on, and you teach him stuff.
Yeah, that's cool.
Clear.
That yeah, that one I also got at the time.
If you don't get that one, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You're just not mentally cut out for the command line. What's that episode called? Like In a Manger or something? Or no, it's
not
called
that
The First
obvious.
Man. It's called The First Man. It's called The First Man.
First Man, yeah.
Mhm.
That is at least as clear. There's a line from Pawn Hearts that is, I run to the manger. I am the stranger that I stay in.
Mhm.
You guys are occupying bodies that aren't originally yours. You
Yeah.
go to it. You're inevitably going to end up at this manger.
Hey, what did so self-indulgent question. I think this does it for my list. How did you read the choices made by me in the Jackrafice?
The Jackrafice.
I think the decisions that you made to be like, okay, this is a bad thing to have happening. We need to get rid of it at all costs. And like as like kind of a penance for that, we're going to like whatever amount of me is destroyed in the process is worth it.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think that was thematically correct.
Yeah.
I think that was the correct option.
Cool.
Which I think it's really interesting that we had that happen. We had Sheila, who just like never really got corrupted.
Hmm.
And then we had, relatively uncorrupted. And then we had Danny be completely corrupted.
Almost entirely subsumed.
Yeah. It was like funny arcane bullshit that allowed us to pull you out of that. Okay. You got some more development questions, Ricardo. You mentioned that in between, like during the break.
So, like, I wanna know about like format. How did you decide, like, what was supposed to be like an episode? Cause like you think of like the high concept, and like you think of like the story events and like how you want it to go, but like how do you quantify, I guess, what like defines like an episode?
Like, how do I construct an episode?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like, you want this much plot events that you have in mind to happen.
Okay. So that one very much depends on the episode, as much as that is kind of a cop-out answer. So like it's very different for each part because Command Line is very much like each episode is structured in a way. Like each episode is a complete like sub-story.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're only at that military compound for one episode.
Yeah, and
It's crazy.
It doesn't feel like one episode in my memory.
Yeah, that feels like a 2 episode.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just the one. So like part 1 is very much like in this episode, this will happen,
Yeah.
this will happen, this will happen, and then you'll have to come back. There will have to be like a resolution to it. And the thing about that is that you're being pushed past, like you can't linger here,
Mm-hmm.
you can't, investigate every nook and cranny, you can't talk to every person here.
Mm-hmm.
You can only do so much, and then like the force of time will like cause the event here to end, and then you will have to leave, or like something else will cause you to have to leave. So yeah, that was very structured. There was a part where I was a little frustrated how much time we were spending on Pilk, because I was like, well, guys, you chose to talk about Pilk instead of talking to Alvis today. I hope you know this.
Mm-hmm. And then we wound up sequence breaking like crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, then you sequence broke like crazy, and I'm like, dang, we didn't get to talk to Alvis. That sucks. I wanted Alvis to be like big endeared this episode.
Oh, that's what that was. Yeah, that would have been really valuable. That was missed content. That was necessary. Because I remember Sheila saying, "When I see Alvis again, I'm gonna punch him in the face."
Yeah.
Yeah, that would have been an episode where you meet Pearl and get to know Alvis. Planned.
That would have been.
Yeah, it would have been really nice. Instead, you met Pearl. At least you met Pearl.
We did meet.
That's
right.
Nice.
We met Pearl, and I 1v1. I 1v1 Samson.
Yeah, that was gonna. Was that one episode? Did you only spend one episode on the train?
No,
I don't think so.
The train was 2 episodes.
It was 2 episodes.
It was
2 episodes.
Yeah.
You like went to the brain space.
Yes.
Yeah.
You went to the brain zone.
We met Pearl. Then we went to the.
Which I want to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah.
I had you all play some funny games where I went, give me your stats, and I'm going to tell you some stuff about you in like the vaguest possible way.
Yeah.
So
That was
I wanted to clarify the spider comment. The spider is your animal companion.
Yeah, yeah. The spider is my spirit animal, and she told me to um like find home, basically, like set down roots somewhere, like build.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Um, I it
Like a
I have
spider,
a
etc.
I thought that the spider was like I eventually thought the spider was like signaling something about the giant spider that came through the spire in the Statue of Liberty, and I was like, oh, oh, that. What does that say about me?
Okay. So it didn't come through the spire, to clarify. The
Hmm.
city of New York, like, the bay where's my other hand? There we go. The Bay of New York, right?
Right.
You have the island of New York, and then next to it you have the Statue of Liberty. You're at the Statue of Liberty, you're flying away. Out of the water comes like one of the legs of the spider because the city is like in the process of standing up, but it just looks like a
Uh,
spider.
it was already built that way. Okay.
Yeah, it was just built that way. It was like, okay, apocalypse started. The city is like raising itself up like
Mhm.
above the chaos. Um, let's see. Yeah, so the city was just built that way, but underground. Um, what else about that? Okay, yeah. So spider. What the spider got? A spider's got thread, but it's also like the thread is a trap. So spider meant that was me playing off like I was playing off your stats for each of the things because I asked you what your
Mhm.
stats are, and
Mhm.
you had like three, you had like 9 in connection and separation, I think, and like 3 in instigation.
Hmm.
I thought it was very clear that like, okay, a spider makes threads, but the threads are dangerous. So that's what it means to have like a high separation and a high connection.
Okay. A structure that is dangerous. A connection that is dangerous.
Hmm.
Gotcha.
Yeah, the set down roots stuff was like this is like foreshadowing the like ultimate good end
Hmm.
of like, oh yeah, ultimate good end in a nice house that somebody lives in with with my daughter.
And we got there. We did get there.
We did get there.
okay. Okay.
Um, you wanted to talk more also about like Pearl herself, like the scene of meeting Pearl. Is that right?
Hmm. Um, yeah, like I introduced Pearl, and like
Hmm.
everyone really liked her immediately, and I'm like, yeah, that's cool, that's cool. Pearl was initially going to be like a one-off character,
Hmm.
uh, but everyone really liked her, and I'm like, well, if they really like her, that means she needs to come back. So I just thought like, oh, you know, it'd be really cool. What if she was the mechanic? What if she's your mechanic and Albus is missing? Because like I was
Hmm.
planning on Albus being missing. Um, and what happened? Because what was going to happen is that uh, this is a thing that I kind of had planned, but it didn't work out that way.
Hmm.
Uh, for Command Hearts, it was going to be like, okay, you go back to base by like going down subway steps, and then you are like magically transported like as if through a portal, but like it feels continuous to
Hmm.
that train platform, and then like you're in your home base, but your home base isn't actually there.
Gotcha.
And that would have been a way that you like see Pearl a lot, et cetera, et cetera. Um, eventually, I decided that like having the separation makes more sense. Having like the
Hmm.
physical separation makes more sense. because
Yeah.
that makes you feel more out in the field and them feel more vulnerable, and it also lets you do the cool like you're on the
Calling home
phone,
thing.
Hmm.
you have to call home, yeah, which is like a fun side quest at the very start. Like that's like your lead into the city is
Mhm.
like, okay, you have this big thing, you need to dump it somewhere, and then like get above ground and check that it works. And it gives you a very concrete goal at the very
Mhm.
start. When otherwise you'd just be like, I guess we just go up there,
Mhm.
and like that gives you something that you're protecting that lets you play around with parts and like luggage.
Mhm.
Yeah, fun time.
And there just so happens to be a Mega Man character that maps onto Pearl.
Yes, I decided that Pearl would be important before the end, before you got like off the train. Like I was like, oh, okay, people really like Pearl. I guess I'll just bring her back for hearts. Like, why not?
Mhm.
It was going to be like, I don't know, Samson, maybe like some sort of like pared down version of Han Tayumi. I don't know
Mhm.
if you could like somehow just get like Han Tayumi locked into a computer to build you robot parts.
If we had like air gapped Hantayumi.
Yeah, something like that. Um,
Um, was it frustrating at all how long it took us to figure out that Hantayumi was evil?
no,
Because it
not
was
at all.
like, okay,
It was pretty quick. You
I
pretty much immediately clocked like
yeah.
as soon as you brought him into the future, you were like, "Yeah, that was a bad idea, wasn't it?" And then you talk to him like one time, and you're like, "That was pretty sus. I think he's
Mhm.
a bad guy, guys. I think he's gonna betray us." And I was like, "Well, we're not gonna dawdle on it.
Yeah,
He's gonna betray you. Like he's gonna ask you for something really, really like that seems bad. I don't know if we should do that.
Mhm.
Like, oh, you want a body, huh?"
Let it be
Hmm.
known from jump. Danny was always suspicious of Antayumi.
See, and like throughout all of Command X, the only hint to me that he was bad was that you so easily let us take Hantayumi to the future. That was it. That's a DM says yes in a suspicious way.
Yeah.
A-
Well,
Well,
And
also he's a cog.
and also he's a cog.
he's a cog,
But
like,
so Samson.
but he's been proven to be good though.
Yeah, because he helped us out.
Mm,
He was like really cool to us while we were there.
yeah.
Only because he has nothing else to do. I realize but I didn't realize that at the time. And like I I could have caught it maybe because you and I both feel the same way about Buddhism.
What I'll
Which
say
is
is
that it
initially Hantayumi is
Mhm.
supposed to be just like a different perspective on things,
Mhm.
but like he has dead ended, he has game overed himself.
Yeah.
It's supposed to show you that like, oh yeah, even if you could secure paradise for yourself, that's not good enough. That's kind of what it was supposed to be like. But
Mm.
like you
Yeah.
took him with you, and it just felt like it worked. So I made him more evil. I let him like go go darker with it, if that makes
Mhm.
sense.
Yeah, it's just the logical conclusion of it. In the same way
Yeah,
that like the logical conclusion of conservatism is Nazism. The logical conclusion of his beliefs that he was acting on there is his beliefs at the end of the game.
Yeah.
Um,
Bubble Man. Bubble
Bubble
Man.
Man!
And like if because we were pulling so heavily from the
Mhm.
album in that like season in that season uh like we had
We're pulling
Hantayumi.
heavily in all the seasons, buddy. You
I
just haven't listened to Pawn Hearts enough.
I guess fine, sure.
Mhm.
um
Tarba can confirm this.
Yeah.
okay, I will
Pawn
re-listen.
Hearts is the most explicit one.
mm, that's actually true, yeah, that's true. yeah, like we had Hanteumi, and like the only the Munt machine. Where was the Munt machine? We did not find or answer that question until we went up we went up that thread, and then we
Mhm.
went to the future, and then we made
Like-
a copy of Hanteumi in the future. He found his Munt machine, or like a way to get a Munt machine.
Yeah,
And-
he got a body.
And you didn't call it out at the time, Ricardo,
Mhm.
which poses problems for me because I hadn't listened to the album enough. That was not so much a problem with Act 3.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I'm glad I already did that legwork.
Yeah, a decade ago.
Uh-huh.
Mhm. That one, that one is my favorite album.
Act 3?
Not
Or Act 2?
3, Act 2, yeah. No, sorry,
Hmm.
not Act 2. The
Father of
King
Death
Gizzard, King
or
Gizzard.
Murder of the Universe?
Yeah, Murder of the Universe.
Okay, Murder of the
King Gizzard,
Universe.
yeah. That is my favorite of the 3 albums.
I like Pawn Hearts the most, but like it's a close race.
Well, there's 3 of us and there's 1 of each. Lol.
There you go. There you go.
Shadow Man, which one is your favorite album?
Shadow Man, which one is your favorite album? I really like Act 1, Proto Men. Bubble Man.
Bubble Man.
This is Bubble Man again. He just really likes that Bubble Man bit. That's his favorite bit. He didn't get to be there. He just had to listen to the episode. He felt so sad about that.
We haven't talked about this moment on recording, but when Command Line was in development, I visited you and Sai, and I was like, yo, I really gotta make you guys listen to Proto Man Act 1 and 2. This is critically important to me. And you just had to like stand there poker facing while I explain all of Act 1 and Act 2
While we listen to them.
while we listen to them in your
This
kitchen.
is during the bridge between Command Line and Command X. Like Command X was already revealed, I think.
At the very least, we had died, and we had seen the trailer. It was before we did the first episode of Command X.
Yeah, that's when it was. So like all this shit was like already sorted. Like
Mhm.
like I already knew Pearl was your mechanic in Command Hearts. And as I've said multiple times before, what is it? Like the scene where you go to talk to Emily, I knew about that in August, which was like 2 months before that. The scene where you confront Alvis at the show of force, I knew about that shit since like July, which is like 2 months in. That was like we like hadn't even had the anthology episode, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's gonna happen at some point.
Speaking of the show of force, other media that turned out to be command liney, like liner media, 1984. We all read 1984. You had read it previously, but we all
I have
like
read
caught up
it.
to you at some point.
Yeah.
Discipline and Punish, by Michel Foucault. We chased that one with that's the book about the Panopticon, among other things. We all did Capitalist Realism. That's pretty liner.
Ooh, that one I did
We've
not,
all
I did not do.
Brazil a little bit is in there of like a world being run by these systems and like pipes are going through and like trampling over humanity. That's liner media.
Chrono Trigger.
Chrono Trigger is a big liner media.
Chrono Trigger is huge liner media. If I
You
did
played
not,
Chrono Trigger.
if I did not play Chrono Trigger, it like wouldn't like. Oh my god, they would. Playing Chrono Trigger helps you understand command line so much.
I haven't even beaten Chrono Trigger. I only played like the first half. I was like, wow, this is really cool. I like this. I'm gonna think about it for a while.
It lasts. Roma, you like don't even understand. Like, finish Chrono Trigger and you will just see command line like all over.
Oh, Oh, okay. So here's a fucking weird one for you that I only realized in like total retrospect. I learned this
Hmm.
at Christmas
Hmm.
when I watched a video about it, and I was like, "This seems." I'm like, "Huh? I thought I played a little of this game, and like, it seems a little familiar." And like, as it kept going, I'm like, "Oh yeah, I remember that. Oh yeah, I remember that."
Hmm.
Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Explorers of Sky is like peak liner media, and the fact that that's true about a Pokemon game is fucking insane.
Hmm.
Okay, does anyone know about that? Does anyone know how weird?
I
Do you
do.
know how fucking weird that game is? That game has Emily in it. Like that's fucking weird.
The game has Emily in it.
Like yeah, Freud would have a field day. Okay,
Mhm.
That's our next thing we need to do a compilation for.
Freud would have a field day.
Freud have a field
Yeah.
day.
by the
Let's see.
the Emily is a Gardevoir spirit, but
Oh,
Yeah, but like Emily is a Gardevoir is just immaculate. No notes.
no notes.
no, no notes. Ghost of a dead Gardevoir, clear.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah,
So,
there's like split personhood in that game and shit. It's fucking
Uh-huh.
wild.
damn.
It
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
wild.
There's
like
like
some
multiple layers of post game that it just keeps being command line.
Okay, wait. Let me get the name of this game down correctly. Pokemon Mystery Dungeon
Explorers of Sky.
Explorers of Sky.
I can
Okay.
send you a video that's just like basically a recap and like
Mhm.
you'll get it. But like you can also play it. It's pretty fun, I guess. You know,
Yeah.
It's not
it's a solid game.
yeah. I doubt it's like too long.
It's kind of long.
Oh,
It's kind of
really?
long.
Okay.
It's probably like 30 hours.
It's
I mean,
like the Pokemon Company made a real RPG. That's what it's like.
it's
Yeah,
it's not that intense. It's not that big.
It's not
It's
not
not
not that it's
not
hard.
60 hours. It's not like a console RPG. It's still a handheld game.
Mhm.
And like if you don't count the post game, but like the post game is part of what matters. It's like half of what matters
okay.
because it literally has like a command line command X like seasonal break, and it's like okay, this is the first time the credits roll.
Yeah. Just there's so many layers to it.
I'll send you a video about it, and like if you're interested, play it. If
Okay.
not, just watch the video.
Sure.
Yeah.
And you get to sit there and be like, this is weird how much this lines up. And imagine being me, not remembering the game at all, that you played definitely through all of the post game at least once, probably more than once. As a child, as like literally a 7 or an 8-year-old,
Mhm.
and just being like, huh, how much of my identity is wrapped up in this fucking Pokemon game?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Um let's see. What was some other like liner media from that block of time? Because we did a lot of it on my trip up. Um that's when we watched A Scanner Darkly before we hung out with Lucy, the Explorer of Sky and Darkness. The other version, like there's Explorers of Sky and Explorers of Darkness. The funny joke. Um, we also watched Annihilation around that time.
Annihilation. I knew that
Critically
one would
important.
be liner media.
Yeah.
I just hadn't watched it. I was like saving it for Command X, and then like there was a build up for it.
Yeah.
I was like, oh yeah, we should watch Command. We should watch that. That would be very good. That'd be a good Command X. So like I knew kind of what it was about.
hmm
Like I had heard basically all the plot beats before, and I'd always been like, that sounds pretty cool. I'll watch it at some point. Do we have any more dev questions? You have free reign. Ask and ye shall receive wisdom.
Did you feel like you accomplished like all of your goals that you set out by the end?
what I'll say to that is you never feel like you accomplish all the goals that you set out to accomplish when you're making something like this, when you're making like a big piece of like narrative art, or like art in general. Well, narrative art. I'll say narrative art. Um, all art is inevitably incomplete because like you can't put all of your thought into one thing and have someone get all of it out. That just like isn't how communication works.
Mm-hmm.
But do I think Command Line was on the whole generally a success? Yes. I think there's some failures in it.
Like what?
I want to.
Yeah, talk
I
about
think
that.
that
Yeah.
I think that 3 albums is too many.
Mm.
No one fucking listened to the 3 albums. Like basically not at all. Like Psy listened to them like at the start of Command Line and at the start of Command X and at the start of Command Hearts. They would listen to the album like like a few times, like maybe 10 times. And like that's pretty good. But like just listening to it in the background is very different from like you are looking at the lyrics, you're thinking about it. Like
Yeah.
I am listening to 1, 2, or even all 3 albums every single week for like the entire year. Like I'm thinking about them that much. Or at least like once between sessions. Sometimes I literally would just have like this is in like February. I would have just one of the albums on loop for an entire day, just thinking about it. Like that was the amount that I was like trying to pull from them because I don't want it to feel like they're just like surface level, and like they're definitely not, like just from how much they're used and like even like the subtext of them is used in places. But like side listening that much, I think Tarbug, you listen to Pawn Hearts like twice before
Yeah.
the end.
I listened to Pawn Hearts twice. I listened to Murder the Universe 4 times total, 2 of those being album listens that we did together.
Yeah. Which like no one showed up to album listens. Ricardo, I don't know how much you listened. I think you listened to them a couple times.
I listened to I listened to Pawn Hearts, and I listened to Murder of the Universe like a lot. I listened to Pawn Hearts for the I was there for the group listens, and like a couple times outside of that, and then like Act Two, life was a little turbulent, so so yeah, that's
Luckily,
the one
you
I
had an
probably listened to
expert.
like the least. Yeah.
Yeah.
Either way, it's too much music. People don't fucking study. Doesn't matter how much effort you put into something, no matter how cool they think it is, they won't study for it. You can do one album, and it's got to be 40 minutes. Can't be longer. So I think the album idea is like, maybe you roll it out as a fun gimmick sometimes, as like, we're gonna do one out. This is an allusion to this one album or like this mixtape. Originally, I was thinking of Command Line as like maybe a mixtape. I was going to call it the Helix tape because like,
ooh, that's good.
Yeah. Thank you. I still have that playlist saved. I will post it, and I will like there will be a link to it, and anyone can listen to it. It has like 50 songs in it because I never called it, but like know that all of those entered my brain at some point, and I was like, that seems like a Liner song. Let's put that in there, and then I'll think about it later. So there's probably a lot of mess in there. Same thing with the reading list. There's quite a long reading list. It's probably at least like 60, 70 hours worth of listening material for the reading list. It's like a playlist of YouTube videos and like a couple books, basically. And then, the albums, obviously. Yeah, but to get back to your question, fundamentally your artwork is going to be incomplete, but I think that we managed to get the themes across like right for the ending, and it was really harrowing getting them across, like trying to get everyone to understand like the messages of it. I think that in a way that like Wars doesn't like, I think Wars is like there are depths to it that you can mine, but like it's very easy to get like you touch everything in it and you feel like you get it, and like you could read into very minor things in it, but it was a much more simple story. This one, Command Line, Command Hearts, Command X, I think have like a lot going on. I think that like, in 10 years I could re-listen to it and I can get like a whole different perspective on it. Yeah, I think for that reason it's like a way stronger expression. Even if it's like the vision is less clear, like it's definitely more muddy. It's a little weird. It's pretty weird sometimes. We're not shy about being
we
kind of like
for sure
kind of like schizo brain.
Yeah, I remember you saying
intentionally
that
some of it intentionally like doesn't make sense in order to cause you to think about it more and like draw your own conclusion, which I think is important.
I am very excitedly looking forward to a rewatch of the whole thing. I want to give it a little bit of space, and then probably finish the rewatch a little bit before the anniversary, the 1-year anniversary of completion. In which time I would like us all to do that, and then like come back and do a 1-year anniversary recap. See what other things we have learned to talk about, because as we have demonstrated already, we can talk about this show forever.
Yeah, I think I think it's a hyper object. There's a lot to dig into on it. I think you could read into like something I said at the very start is that I'm like, yeah, Ricardo, whenever you were done with this, you need to make an analysis video about it. I think I joked at you a few times, but no, I meant it. I meant I want the 40-minute, I want the 2-hour analysis video about this.
We're already making some secondary media about it. Like Sai, who couldn't be here today for casualty reasons, made Pokemon trainer cards for all of the major characters, and that was really cool. Kind of wish they had been in here to talk about that.
Yeah, it should have been posted on the forums.
We often think about other angles to take on, like how can you, like if we made a Magic the Gathering set out of it, what would that look like? If we made it goes on in this form of like what are other ways of expressing or thinking about or capturing or illustrating these cool concepts to other people.
I think of that as like, what other directions can we like view this through? What lenses can we look at it with?
Yeah, I'm probably going to go through and neurotype all of the characters as they develop.
That's
shout out the neurotype line.
Shout out neurotype line. You know what? You can shout out your pseudoscience podcast on this episode. I think that's fine.
Pop Psychology podcast. Thank you.
Yeah, don't play with the pseudoscience people.
That's a Venn diagram. That's a Venn diagram with a lot of overlap. Okay.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
Tawak is built different though.
Now, Ricardo, can you really vouch for all the weirdos on that show? It's a pretty weird show.
I said Tawak is built different.
Exactly. Tarbuk is not that entire show. There's some other people on it.
I'm about a third of that show.
All right. Any residual questions?
We have to answer the original question.
Oh,
You said at the very beginning, before we started playing, this is either the last thing that I make that anyone will ever understand, or the first most indulgent piece of media that is utterly inaccessible to all people. Which do you think you did?
oh, fuck. This is a fantastic final question.
That is what I was trying to get at with that last question.
Hmm.
I think it might be the first. Okay. I won't say that it's incomprehensible. I think it is.
Mhm.
I think that we say it out loud enough to where it is explicit. I think if I made a director's cut, it would be like where I cut out a lot of explanation.
Mhm.
It would be the latter. But I think we managed to do the former, where it's the last thing that I will make that has a clear message. Because I think at this point, I have decided if you don't get it, to go back and do the homework. Look,
Mhm.
I can't walk you all the way from the start.
Yeah.
So Tarbuck, if you ever go make that music and you need someone to sing for it, let me know.
Mhm.
We'll
Right
get
on.
weird with it. We'll get real weird with it.
It needs to happen this year, and it needs to happen before Ciderfest because I made someone a promise.
Okay, sure.
At the very least, I have to have one song that exists as a song. Like I haven't even started, so I have
Well,
what
now you're
two,
free,
3
aren't you?
months? Yeah. Now I'm free.
I free you of your responsibility. Now I have other responsibility. Now I have other
Yeah.
responsibilities instead of
Well,
all this RPG shit.
strictly speaking, so do I. The RPG project that I'm pushing for to do next is
Oh, you
is
putting an
like
ad here? We put an ad
yeah.
here.
I'm putting it in here because like I'm not decided on whether we're going to record it or not.
Well, that's on you. I ain't doing it.
Yeah. No, that would just be a me thing. I'm not decided on whether we're recording it or not.
I
But
think yes, because I don't
we're
have to do it.
I'm doing like a Ruby fan game set just after the Great War because I love Ruby. And everyone here loves Ruby. Um, just after the Great War, so that it will be Remnant's first class of kids. Um, so I'm thinking about that. I have my media list that I'm trying to cross off for this year. I do have irons in the fire. One of those things has got to be making some music with you.
And then I'll dance to it.
Yeah, that'll be great. If we could get it on like Moonlight Academy, that would be amazing. I don't think it'll happen.
No, I could get that on stage.
You are kind of like rising in the ranks pretty fast. That could be made. That could be arranged. Okay, thinking about that as a more realistic option. I don't know.
If you could just do it, if any part of it could be performed live, like there you go. If I am the one singing on it, then like all I have to do is ask to be like, hey, can I perform on stage one day? Can I do a song?
That'd be cool. That'd be cool. Maybe by then I'll be in VR chat.
That'd be great. This is the future, everybody. This is the future. We are computers.
Yeah. I mean, you're sitting in a Twilight Mirage right now. A little insert on the. Oh, wait a minute. Is the music going to be a problem? Do you think?
It's muted on my end.
Okay. Okay, so a little insert to finish off my thought about Samson, because I realized after the transition that we didn't tie that up. The reason that I was reaching out to him and saying the future's not complete without you, buddy, is I partly that I was still riding high on Initiation, and Samson had been going through an arc of developing personhood and getting better over time. Like when we see him in the future, he's a much cooler guy in terms of like he's not the guy who does war crimes in that moment. But he's
Yeah.
not yet the guy who doesn't apologize, who does apologize for having done war crimes. So a huge part of my saying that was not necessarily because I believe that about him in the past, but because it's not a 100% victory if we don't complete his character arc. Even if we don't see it on screen yet, just like the motion of telling this guy who doesn't believe in his own personhood, he doesn't believe that he has a soul, telling him we need you is like that connects him to us and makes him want to be heartened. And like he wanted to change about in a lot of ways already, and so that's enough of a hand in our direction for me to reach a hand back to him when he's down and out. Yeah. That like it's not like I would really want to hang out with the guy, but when somebody is trying to be better, I want to try and reach out. So that's what that was about. Yo,
That's
pro dancing.
that's what it felt like to me in the moment as well. Cause like if we look at all the characters we had made contact with, right?
Mhm.
Everybody that was like too abstinent, we had to fight, or like they had some
Yep.
sense of power that we had to like rid them of, or they got converted and they became allies. There wasn't anybody that was like in the middle really. So like if we think about it, like Samson would have been the only like tragic character, not the only one, the like second tragic character.
There's a lot of tragedy going around. There's plenty of it.
Never forget.
Tragic in this.
Never
Tragic
what
in the sense
happens
that we
in the
didn't save
desert.
him.
Yeah, tragic in the sense we couldn't save him. Yeah. So like yeah, I agree. I like that moment a lot.
Yeah. Really, really fighting to make the world better and make the people in it have the chance to be better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Hope.
Hope.
Okay.
Oh, one thing I had a lot of fun with in Command Line, this is something I forgot to bring up in the wrap-up. Thing that was a victory, quotes. Quotes on every episode, great thing.
Yeah, I really liked that. You like how at the time I mixed up Yang Wen Li and Admiral Yi?
Yeah, that was very funny. That was a real goofy mix-up.
Hey, you can't be cool every time or you don't get Bathos.
Remember, guys, Bathos is just horror. Serious but funny is horror.
I mean, I guess, yeah. Huh. Yeah. All right. That's my. All right. I think that wraps us up.
Mm-hmm. You ready to sign off for the last timeliners?
All right. See you around.
Bayonara liners.
Peace.
Catch you on the flip line, dude.